Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the horror radio station. The story we're talking about today is from our friend Xiangxiang Guang. Xiangxiang Guang is from Hengshui. He's actually telling us two stories today. These two stories are somewhat similar, but they didn't happen to the same person. One, he says, he brought on himself, and the other is about his dad. So next, let me first tell you Xiangxiang Guang's story, the one he brought on himself. Why am I telling his story first? Because he said after it happened, he went home and told his dad the scary story. His dad didn't immediately show disbelief. Instead, he thought for a few seconds and told him, "Oh, I encountered that when I was a kid too." Haha, so we have to tell Xiangxiang Guang's story first. His story happened when he was 16 or 17. When he was 16 or 17, this guy watched horror movies from Hong Kong, Japan, and Thailand. He got completely obsessed. But after watching them, he felt deep down it was impossible. He thought, how can people see ghosts in this world? And I don't know what he was thinking, but this kid wasn't normal at the time. He'd constantly think about it. It even got so serious that, in the middle of the night, his parents couldn't keep an eye on him. He would sneak out at 2 or 3 in the morning. He'd go to the deserted area behind their building. He'd wander around. And while he was wandering, he'd mumble to himself, "Hey, is there a ghost? Lady Ghost, come out and let me see you. I bet you don't believe what I am saying. But I am telling you, this kid really did that. And he didn't just do it for one day. It was for 5, 6, 7, 8 days straight. He did this every day. At the very least, if it rained at night, he wouldn't go out, but he'd stand on the balcony and mess around for a while. He always wanted a ghost to come and show itself. After doing this for a few days, he slowly got bored. Because he didn't see anything, it got uninteresting. But just 2 days after he stopped, something happened. Xiangxiang Guang's dad drove Xiangxiang Guang back to their hometown. This was a sudden trip. He wasn't expecting it. Something must have happened at the family home. So Xiangxiang Guang went with him. The two of them drove back. They didn't pay much attention to the time. That day, they drove from Hengshui back home. They arrived at around 10 p.m. Xiangxiang Guang says he remembers it clearly. He even showed his dad the time. His dad also told him to look to see how long they had been driving. When they entered the village, it was exactly 10:30. But the roads in their village, they couldn't drive too far in. So the father and son parked the car in a safe spot at the village entrance. Other people parked there too. After getting out of the car, they had to walk into the village. But just as they entered the village, they hadn't walked far, only about 10 steps. Suddenly, Xiangxiang Guang saw a stone wall on his right. A head appeared from inside the stone wall. At first, Xiangxiang Guang didn't pay attention. He thought it was a person. From his angle, he couldn't see what the wall looked like. He thought there was a door in the wall. And after this head poked out, it was an old woman. But the old woman wasn't looking at Xiangxiang Guang. Instead, she poked her head out a few times toward the other end. "Pay attention, everyone," I said a few times. That's right. Xiangxiang Guang said it poked out 3 times in total. But by the 3rd time, Xiangxiang Guang was much closer to the old woman. Oh crap, he saw something was wrong. The old woman's head was coming out of the wall. There wasn't a door on that wall. Not even a crack. At that time, Xiangxiang Guang and his dad were walking inside. He was closer to the old woman. Instantly, Xiang Xingguang got scared. Hey, hey! He grabbed his dad and ran the other way. His dad was confused. What's wrong? What are you doing? Xiang Xingguang couldn't speak. He just pulled his dad to the other side. But as he ran, Xiang Xingguang was yelling. A head is coming out of the wall. Normally, you'd think, the dad would get angry. Right? Right? Are you crazy? It's creepy at night. But surprisingly, his dad, who usually had a big temper, didn't get angry today for some reason. He didn't get angry at all. After they stopped, he looked a few times in the direction Xiang Xingguang pointed. Then he grabbed Xiang Xingguang and quickly went back home. After they got home, Xiang Xingguang didn't have time to ask his dad, and that's where our second story begins. It's about his father. Xiang Xingguang and his dad were pulled back home. But after they got home, you'd think Xiang Xingguang would explain to his dad what he had just seen, or how the old woman's head came out. Head. But before Xiang Xingguang could explain to his dad spoke first. What did you see? Did it come out of the big wall? Xiang Xingguang immediately nodded. Yes. Didn't it just come out once? It came out several times. When his dad heard that, he immediately fell into deep thought. Oh my God. You saw that too? I am telling you, I saw it when I was a kid too. Oh, that's not good. Xiang Xingguang immediately pressed on. What happened? His dad's story happened when he was 6 or 7. At that time, Xiang Xingguang's dad still lived in the village. One night, his dad was disobedient. A kid, 6 or 7 years old. It was winter at the time. He ran off to play with some kids. But that other kid's family was strict. He was scared, so he didn't play with his dad for more than 5 minutes. They each ran home. But his dad was spoiled. His grandparents pampered him and couldn't control him. He felt uncomfortable all over. He just didn't want to go home. He was just in the village, wandering aimlessly in the snow. But as he was walking, he wandered into a small alley. This small alley was naturally formed. There were houses in front and behind. They were all the backs of houses. 2 houses next to each other. Wouldn't that form a small alley in the middle? Then his dad walked in. After he went in, he was aimless. He didn't know what to do. But as he was walking, he saw a head peek out from a wall in front of him. A head popped out. His dad panicked. What is that? But the head was very small and moved very fast. It was swallowed back into the wall. But his dad was still stunned. He still didn't know what it was. Hey, who is that? According to his dad's later memory, he said what he saw wasn't just a head. It was half a body. But it was just a flash, and then it was gone. So his dad was still stunned. Hey, who is it? He ran in the direction of the wall it went into. He ran over. But his dad's reaction was slow. Plus, people from that era hadn't seen horror movies. He walked over and saw a wall. Something's not right. Where did it go? At this moment, his dad stood there for at least 10 seconds, trying to figure it out. He was still earnestly looking for the person. He even shouted, "Hey, where did you go in?" But at that moment, suddenly, a voice came from inside the wall. "Get lost. You're looking for death, kid?" The voice was like it came from the sky. but it was indeed coming from the direction of the wall. But the voice was so awful. Immediately, his dad got goosebumps, and they stood up. As a result, his dad lost his composure. Ha ha ha. His whole body was trembling. He stumbled and ran home. On the way, his dad fell 3 or 4 times. It was snowing, and the road was slippery. When he got home, he was covered in mud. When his grandparents saw him come in, they asked what happened, but at this moment, his dad couldn't speak clearly. He threw himself on his grandma and started to cry. And that night, his dad was shaking all over. They covered him with 3 or 4 quilts. It was past 2 a.m. before his grandma finally got him to sleep. The next day, he had lingering effects. He was sick for over 10 days. From then on, even with grandma and grandpa spoiling him, it wasn't okay. They absolutely wouldn't let him go out at night again. And these 2 guys' stories have something in common. Shang, Xingguang, and Dad, the house where he encountered that thing, was an old house. How old? I'll tell you. It was the landlord's house. But during the movement, the house was completely ruined. In other words, they drove the landlord out and the house was taken back, but when it was given to the common people, they didn't want it. When his dad was a kid, that house became a big haunted ruin. But the path his dad took, adults normally don't go there. It's super narrow. Who knows what his dad was thinking that day? He just went in there. So, no one knew if there was anything creepy in that house. The other thing is about Xiang Xingguang. That day, Shang Xingguang got out of the car with his dad. Didn't they see a head pop out of that old house on the right side of the village entrance? I'll tell you. Everyone in the village knows about that old house. It's a line-ending house. What's a line-ending house? The last people who lived there were an old couple who passed away together, but they had no descendants. So the house has been empty ever since. And that Xiang Xingguang had never even met the previous homeowner. Because maybe 10 years before Xiang Xingguang was born, that house was already abandoned. The people, they've been gone for a long time. All right, my friends, that's the end of this story. Just take this as something he told us. This kid, haha, I think he said it himself. He said what happened to me was my own doing. You don't know how bad I was as a kid. I was so close to making a vow and saying, "Can you just let me see, please? I am begging you." It really got to that point. Don't be skeptical. Kids are also normal. You can understand it. But let's not hear this story and go try it ourselves. That would be a bad idea. All right, my friends, we finished the first story. Welcome back to the Paranormal Radio Station. The excitement continues. Tonight's story, we're going to talk about the Tianjin Daily Building, but I am telling you, this isn't the one rumored online. The one where the 13th floor is sealed off, or the other Tianjin Daily Building rumors. It's not that kind of thing at all. This story was provided by our friend Liang Hongyan. Let me say it again. Liang Hongyan is a friend. He's a young man from Tianjin. The thing he talked about is what his uncle encountered at the Daily Building a few years ago. And from here, we begin. Liang Hongyan's family really believes what's being said online about the Daily News Building. It's not just a baseless rumor. Liang Hongyan's uncle's story happened several years ago. A few years ago, there was this one time, Liang's uncle himself was running his own company. His company connected with another company. This company was like his uncle's client. But when he got in touch with the client, that's when he found out their office was in. Tianjin's famous daily news building. The thing about the daily news building, I am not just making this up to tell you a story. Everyone in Tianjin knows about it. Even people from other places know. When his uncle heard that, he was like, "Oh no. What? 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 Why is this guy's office here?" When his uncle said that, it was clear that the company's business had nothing to do with newspapers. So, his uncle told his employees back then, "Okay, I'm gonna go handle this myself this afternoon. I'll go there myself. I'll really go. I'll take on the daily news building alone." So that's what happened. Around 3 inches the afternoon, Head arranged to meet the client. Liang's uncle headed over to the daily news building. The owner of this company was also a local from Tianjin. He was a smooth talker with a bit of a worldly vibe. He was like a seasoned boss. Liang, Hongyan's uncle, was also good at chatting. When they met, it was like they were old friends. They could even reminisce about a lot of childhood memories. Since they were about the same age, around 40 or 50 at that time, they were chatting and the conversation completely went off the topic of business. They started talking about all sorts of random things. By the time they were done chatting, they'd lost track of time. They were in the office drinking tea, smoking, and talking. Finally, he looked at his watch again. Liang's uncle saw it and thought, "Oh no, oh, Mr. Cheng, we've been talking. And it's almost 7 o'clock. How about we go out and grab a bite to eat?" The boss agreed to that. The two of them were ready to go to dinner. But after they decided, since they'd had a lot of tea, Liang's uncle said this, "Why don't you get ready first? I am going to the restroom." He said that and just turned around without thinking much. He went to a restroom on their floor. But here's a detail to pay attention to. As soon as Liang's uncle walked out of the office, the boss, for some reason, chased after him. Hey, Mr. Liang, you should go to this restroom over here." But at that moment, his uncle seemed to, how should I put it, he wasn't being stubborn, he just didn't think much of it. Because when he arrived earlier, Head already used the restroom over there. On the other hand, and said something to the owner. "Oh, it's fine. Mr. Cheng, hurry up and get ready. Isn't there a restroom up front? I just went there." With that, he went to the restroom he had in mind. On his way to the restroom, Uncle Liang was very happy. The business negotiation must have been a success. It was a great success. He was humming a tune and whistling. He then walked into the restroom. Once inside, Uncle Liang washed his hands first. He must have touched a lot of things. But as soon as he turned on the faucet, he heard a strange sound coming from inside the restroom. The sink area, outside the restroom, is separate from the inside. When the uncle heard the sound, he wondered what was going on. It felt like someone was using their fists and hitting the partition inside the restroom, or the wooden panel between the stalls. It sounded like someone was shaking it. This made Uncle Liang curious. He immediately shook his hands dry and leaned his head inside the restroom to peek. But when he looked in, there was nothing. And at the same time, the sound stopped. Uncle Liang is a big guy, and at that time, although the whole company was almost empty, it was past 7 p.m., and everyone had left, the lights were still on. So he didn't think anything scary would happen. So he just walked into the restroom nonchalantly. After he went in, according to the habit of people in the north, he cleared his throat. Then he unbuckled his belt, ready to use the restroom. But it's wrong. "Whoa, what are you doing?" Since it was a men's restroom and everyone was a man, Uncle Liang didn't think too much of it. He spoke again. But the sound didn't stop. It was still thumping inside. Now Uncle Liang was scared. You could say that from the moment he heard the sound. This was when he truly started to get scared. Suddenly, the hairs on the back of Uncle Liang's neck stood on end. Cold sweat was pouring down his body. But when people get to this point, some might run, but others can't control themselves. Plus, this restroom has half-height partitions. The restroom door, there's an empty space below. If you look down, you can see inside. Uncle Liang really didn't dare to go any further, but he couldn't stop himself from bending over. He leaned to the side and looked down. He wanted to see what the person inside was doing. Oh, I really shouldn't have looked. He looked down carefully. He saw a pair of pale knees on the ground. There was leg hair on the knees. It was obviously a man, but he was skin and bones. How pale was he? Uncle said he was even paler than the white wall. He had no color, and you could see his figure at the time. His hands seemed to be holding the side of the wall, and his body was constantly swaying. If Uncle didn't guess wrong, this person was hitting his head against the side of the wall. A wooden partition wall. Uncle Liang couldn't hold it together anymore. What the heck is he doing? He turned around and ran outside. But don't forget, Mr. Cheng's company is Uncle Liang's partner company. They were about to talk business. Could he just run there and make a scene? You guys have a ghost. How could he? No way. So Uncle Liang had to pretend to be calm when he went out. He slowly collected himself and then went back to Mr. Cheng's office. At this time, Mr. Cheng was already holding his car keys. Hey, Mr. Liang, did you drive? But Uncle Cheng was a little on edge. Or rather, he was a little out of sorts. My CC car is over there. But Mr. Cheng is very perceptive. He noticed something was off with Uncle Liang. Oh, what's wrong? Then Uncle Liang didn't know what to say. He was silent for at least 2 or 3 seconds. And then he opened his mouth and said, I was just using the restroom here. How did I see something strange? But Uncle Liang didn't get to finish. Mr. Cheng grabbed him and walked away. And when they walked, he clearly avoided the restroom. They took the elevator on the other side, far away. As they went down in the elevator, Uncle Liang and Mr. Cheng said almost nothing. When they got downstairs and out the front door, Mr. Cheng finally explained it to Uncle Liang. Actually, Mr. Cheng had tried to stop him from going to that restroom. Because Mr. Cheng said that he wasn't the only one in his company who said they had seen strange things in that restroom. But Mr. Cheng's ethnicity is different. Do you understand? His beliefs are also different. He thought there was nothing wrong. And when he rented the office, the place was cheap, so he settled his company there. But our Uncle Liang doesn't think so. Oh my God. This guy really values money over his life. I have to be careful doing business with this guy, okay? He knows this is happening, and he still opens a company here. All right, friends, that's the end of the story. Let me tell you, this is the first time we've officially unearthed some stuff from the Daily News building, but this is also pretty sketchy. Maybe what he saw was just a crazy person. You can't be sure, right? All kinds of people are out there. Anyway, to sum up, Brother Hanyan's uncle was scared silly that day. They say he didn't get sick that night, but he wasn't young anymore. He felt bad for many days after. Okay, next, I'll tell you about his third thing. Tonight, we have a friend from Harbin. His name is Yim. This friend is very mysterious. He didn't give me any info, and he didn't even say his whole name. But his story is really good. Because it's about a gas station. Brother MS story happened before the pandemic. It must have been early 2019. In early 2019, Brother M found a job. He went to work at a gas station. At the time, he was in charge of issuing invoices. He'd just print out receipts or issue invoices. But this job also had a night shift. So one day, he had already been working there for a couple of months. He got to work at around 8 p.m. that day. He was supposed to start at 9 p.m. or 9:30, I think, and he'd get off the next morning. But soon after he arrived, a woman from work also came in. This woman was his colleague, but she was no ordinary person. Even though she also worked at the gas station, we had known since he met her that her family had a spirit medium. But that night, after he met her, he greeted her very politely, "Hey, you're here too?" But the woman didn't know he was on the night shift. She replied, "Oh, you're early too." She said that. And that should have been the end of it. They'd just go about their business. But the woman just stared at him. She just froze. On the spot. She just stared at him intently. He was baffled. What's wrong? Do I have something on my face? But she just stood there for 7 or 8 seconds. Then she mysteriously told him, "Oh, you're not quite right today. Is something wrong at home?"